I should probably turn my microphone on. Right. Okay. Speaker, microphone, all the same thing, really. So I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Dunn County Executive Committee to order. Call of the roll shows that everybody's present. Before approval of minutes, I'm going to do a little bit of rearranging of the schedule, if that's okay with everybody, because I know some people have some questions for the sheriff. And so I'm going to take the two items that are related to the sheriff and move those back and try and get through all of the quicker, easier stuff, and also give the clerk of courts a chance to speak separate from that. So she doesn't, I mean, it's one item, but I want to give her a chance to speak before we get into all the rest. So that'd be 5C, which in the county manager's report, which really ought to have been at the request of the chair, since this was one of those where I said, hey, Dan, we should probably have a space to talk about this if people want to have that discussion. So I'll move that back and we'll do some other sorting as we go along. Right. Now, approval of the minutes. Supervisor Steen moves. Supervisor Headland seconds. Any speaking to the minutes? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes, minutes are approved. Public comments, I recognize everybody in the room, so I think we are clear there. On to the county manager's reports, items A and B. Dan.
All right, as is normal, the county board meeting agenda very much looks like the executive committee agenda. So obviously we will go over purchases over 40,000 and the ERP and an ERP update, which we have on here as well. Reports from the sheriff, 911, and the medical examiner's office are part of our March reports. And then we have that resolution for carry forward requests, which this committee will be acting on later in the agenda. And then we have all of the resolutions that are in there for review. So I won't go over them all now. The only real difference in there is we do have a second reading on the ordinance for chapter 6 for general administration, which is our records retention and public records, which the board saw last month. Other than that, everything else will be on there. Spoke with Chair McCullough prior to this, and we will likely, pending this meeting, but likely be adding an item at the request of the chair to also have the sheriff's agreement on the county board agenda. So that is the only change which is not in the packet, but that is intended to be made. You have a question here.
Oh, sorry. Supervisor Wilkes.
Thank you. I just noticed, so the next meeting will be April.
Sorry, yeah, I should point that out.
It's March 18th.
Oh, in the next, okay, yeah.
For the county board, yeah.
Yes.
Should be changed.
So,
thank you.
but also to point out that, yes, the April county board meeting is on a Tuesday. But yes, I will get that updated. So many things to change every time. So, all right. So that is the county board meeting. Any questions related to that? If not, I will move on to what has been occupying my time and the time of many people for the last 2 weeks. So we have begun the rollout of our ERP, continuing to work through that process. We are taking in money. We are sending out some money. Well, we're working through the process of sending out some money. Priority is taking it in, right? And then paying people. So we are working on the first payroll. So I haven't gotten the full update on that, but I know that the information came from one system into the other system, and they are working through those processes with a deadline of kind of getting that done by, I think it's 2 o'clock tomorrow, noon tomorrow. So I think, I'm not going to say everything is going without a hitch, but not an anvil coming down on anything. So we're working through that. And that's kind of been the whole process with ERP, is rolling things out, identifying that that's not going to work, and making a change to that. And so staff have been very helpful in adapting to those changes as we've gone through them. I think in general, once we kind of figure out those processes and people start utilizing them, there is a very much excitement around the new system and the ability to use it and its intuitiveness, and to be able to see that. I was just working with Austin earlier today, and it's like 2 clicks to go see your department budget and where you are. And as you're all familiar with, like, getting the monthly reports has always been a struggle to you. Like, our department heads now will be able to log into the system and actually see that information on a daily basis, and to be able to extract that and get them to the committees will be so much easier. So we're seeing some of the positives, but we're also still working through the kinks. We have a very complex operation here, and but I think it's been good, and I'm not going to say that people aren't stressed at times, but I also think that people have been very courteous to us and the BSNA folks as we've been rolling through those changes. So optimistic, and I would say right now it's everything we've hoped, but we're also ready for the rollout to be done. So that's what I have related to the ERP, unless there are any questions.
Anybody? Does not look like it. All right, we will come back to 5Z in a little while. All right, item 6, reports, resolutions, and ordinances to the county board from the executive committee. Item A, 2025 to 2026 carry forward request and 2026 budget amendments. You're all pretty familiar with how these go. I would need a motion in a second. Supervisor Morehouse moves, Supervisor Headland seconds. Does anyone have any clarifying questions? Oh,
I do. So obviously carry forwards are something that we do on an annual basis. And really what this is, it's utilizing funds from last year. In some cases, those are grants that we have to carry forward. In some cases, those are purchases that have been made, but we haven't received the item yet, so we haven't paid them. And we have to move those forward. I always like to say what a carry forward request is a budget amendment that happens in this year utilizing fund balances is really what that is. So, but we do break them up. And so I do want to kind of point out the budget amendments down at the bottom. And there's specifically one of them that is with the clerk of courts. Sorry, Katie, you know, she knew I was going to say something about it. But so this is a request for minor equipment. It's actually to put electronic locks like we have on all of the other doors to kind of the back hallway around the judges, utilizing some additional revenue, some unexpected revenue, but welcomed revenue that the clerk of court's office received last year, to be able to do that. So this is typically something that would go through like a capital improvements type process to be able to get fund balance, but I didn't want this one to get snuck in as you go through that this is really a request to do a project that was not necessarily previously planned. It is something that we knew was going to have to be done, and it's utilizing fund balance to do that. So just wanted to call that one out so it didn't get lost amongst the array. And we did have that conversation with the committee when they pushed it forward. So that was an additional item. So that's all I had.
All right. We have a motion on the floor. Are there any clarifying questions? All right. First call for debate. Second call for debate. Right, we can go ahead and vote on that one. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, moving on to item 7, and I'm going to take 7A and move that down after the rest of these so we can zip through the stuff that I think will be much simpler. Facilities Committee, 7B, approval of county-owned land use plan. Does anyone have any questions on that one? These aren't voting items, they're just so you all get your eyes on them ahead of time. All right. Seeing none. 7B2, approval of certified survey map. 7B3, approval of the TDS utility easement agreement. All right, 7C, judiciary and law, resolution setting compensation for jurors. Anybody have any questions on that one? All right. I love it when everybody does their homework. 7D, legislative committee, approval of the 2026 legislative agenda. We just did that. So if you've got questions now, I'm going to give you the side eye. All right, no questions. Great. 7E, planning, resources and development, ordinance amendment, rezone, Nestle Town of Peru. Anyone have any questions on that one? All right, I am going to end this as we usually do with reports from standing committees. So now I'm going to go back and grab 7A and 5C. Let's start with 7A, compensation agreement. Katie, did you want to come up and say a few words? Oh, did I miss one? Hmm.
You need to do something.
Sorry, Katie.
Right,
I'm sorry, Katie.
right.
This
It's
will
not
be,
on the agenda, so we.
yeah, I took it off the
Yeah.
agenda. I want to do more
Yeah.
research on the matter before bringing it
Okay.
Yeah,
forward.
yeah.
Thank you.
It was in the folder, so it got sucked up into the packet, but.
All right,
Yeah.
so we're not allowed to talk about it. Okay, moving on now.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Way to make me a little nervous, Diane, having to walk back and forth and do this again. I'm just kidding. So in your written packet, I had just wrote a letter following up from the Committee on Administration meeting that happened a week or week and a half ago, just talking about the wages for the clerk of court and sheriff's position. I did comment in there, just feeling maybe a little overshadowed by talking about the sheriff's position. No disrespect to Kevin by any means. I told him I was going to point him out on that. I think I had one board member kind of question afterwards saying, what kind of happened? And I think I just felt it was important to just talk about it. So the committee did vote. It was not unanimous by the committee to set the wages for the clerk of court and the sheriff position. Essentially, I am requesting a 15% pay increase for the clerk of court position based upon the duties that the position does. I know it always comes up every 4 years about don't consider the person, consider the position. And I truly believe that pay increase is warranted for the position. Take me out of the equation. Anybody coming into that office, what their job responsibilities are. I do not believe that the judges would be changing the position, saying that Katie isn't in it. We're now going to have the new clerk of court do X, Y, and Z. It would be the full expectation that anybody taking that position would be able to do what I'm currently doing in the position. In comparison with other clerk of courts statewide, as of last week, the average for 22 counties that have already set their wages, the average increase has been about a 12% increase to those clerks of courts wages, just because they have fallen behind in other counties as well. And I think another big thing to point out is just comparing the position to other Dunn County department heads of similar size offices, responsibilities, and budgets and staffing levels. I know 15% is a big number. I'm not saying it isn't. I just think that there's an opportunity for non-elected employees to have that opportunity every year to earn more, earn less, or stay the same. And that isn't the same for elected officials. It gets set for 4 years and there is no wiggle room or changing for those positions. So I just was hoping that maybe the committee and the board members would make a reconsideration at the county board meeting on March 18th I know it would have to be a written motion by the board members to be approved, as the Committee on Administration already set the wages at a 3% increase. So I just thank you for the time, and I wasn't knowing that I'd be speaking this afternoon, but I do thank you for that and just wanted to comment on that. But thank you for what you do. I appreciate it.
Sorry to put you on the spot,
No,
Katie.
it's okay. This is perfect.
But and I will give you a chance to talk at county board. Well, I assume Gary will. I will be attending remotely.
Yeah,
That we can't take any action on this
Yeah.
if someone wishes to, propose an agenda or something that, an amendment, that would be an action to be taken for the board meeting.
yes, perfect. Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Katie.
Just a question of
Oh,
procedure,
sure.
procedural question. So when a committee has a resolution, it comes through us to look at and it automatically goes to the board.
Yep.
Is that in the board rules?
Yep.
It says they request. Doesn't say it'll go.
So we don't, there are things that the executive committee approves, so like the budget amendments.
Mhm.
But normally our flow through is the committee approves and it steps forward. That's been our standard practice. I think we could potentially amend that, but I think it probably makes more sense.
I recognize that's our standard practice, but the board rules say a committee may request be on the agenda then. And basically, it's always up to the county board chair. But
Yeah,
what I'm saying is if this is, you bring this up, it's hard enough to talk about this kind of thing with 5 people on the committee or 9 people, and then we're going to have 29. So is it possible to say, well, this is something maybe we want to reconsider, not send to the board right away? Because I think we have the power not to send it.
Go ahead.
The board has, well, they don't have to, but you can't adopt a new salary after April 1st. Because that's the date, right, Andrew? That's the day that they can take out their papers. So their salaries need to be set prior to that day. So yes, but you'd have to call a special meeting if you wanted to.
That was, the point that I was gonna make. Supervisor Morehouse.
Supervisor Kinnear, just so I understand, are you asking for the legislative committee to act on this independently? Sorry.
I'm done telling EWI.gov on the
Yeah.
listing community.
Yep, so everybody is, that's not the question, that's what I'm emailing this for right now. So
Great, okay. Side chatter, please disregard. All
Okay,
right, Supervisor Kinnear.
Supervisor Morehouse, no, I was suggesting that we just not send it on to the county board. So that would not be a vote on it and then send it back to the committee with, to make adjustments for it. Send it back to the admin committee but that doesn't work because of the timing.
Yeah, and I would want to think a lot about procedurally whether it's how we would go about that. So let's just kind of put that in the boiler of think about that and figure it out. We will maybe put that on a future exec committee agenda to have a discussion about how exactly that works within the confines of our current rule set. I think it's a useful question that we should have a much more facile and quick answer for. Supervisor Wilson.
Kind of going off what Mike said, executive, we're kind of the finance committee, right? Is that correct?
More or less, I mean, we split it with admin to some extent.
That's why I was just curious of why we couldn't discuss this if we're quasi.
So having had this conversation beforehand briefly, in terms of the agending of this, I think it would probably be out of order to try and amend this at this level. And again, I think it's a question we would want to, I will definitely look into a little further. If my sense as parliamentarian is that I would rule it out of order. I would have to go and have a long conversation about Jim for the exact flow chart of why it's out of order, but that is very much my sense of things.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I guess I think, so there's part of this is historical, like this is how the elected salaries have always been sent to the Committee on Administration. And part of that is that the ordinance says that the Committee on Administration has jurisdiction over all county personnel matters. Are they county personnel? I think you can kind of get into an interpretation of that, but I think that's where it has fallen to the Committee on Administration historically. And yeah, once they act upon it as a committee, I guess it's up to Kelly.
Supervisor Headland, did you want to?
I guess, at this point or later on, when you ask to, for us to discuss our previous meeting, if someone wants to question what happened at the Committee Administration, obviously you would be free to do so, I would believe.
Yeah, under reports of committees, we
On the
could
reports of committees.
certainly have a discussion about how exactly that had happened. We couldn't take action on it. And one of the reasons, one of the core reasons why it would be inappropriate for us, and my inner parliamentarian finally kicked in. The core reason that it would be inappropriate for us to take any action on that motion coming through from admin is it not actually an action item for this committee. It's not agended as an action item. If we wanted to, in the future, agenda that as an action item, we certainly would be, that certainly would be within the scope of the exec committee, but right now it is not agended as an action item, which is why I'd have to rule it out of order. And Jim can correct me if he thinks my reasoning is wrong, but
That was what I was gonna say, is that because it's not agenda to take any action on it, it wouldn't be appropriate.
yeah, okay. Right. So that was the discussion on how we would deal with that, and it would be an amendment going forward. We are still on 7A. Kevin, did you want to say anything specifically about the salary stuff, or do you want to just jump right into 5 salary stuff? Okay, come on up.
Alls I want to say is, thank you, what she said, because she usually gets to do that when I'm on the hot seat. No, my ask is written in this packet, and it was a simple ask that we match what other elected officials were offered in all the other positions, and what Katie and I were offered for the last 3 years for an increase of 4.75. I'm not asking for a large bump. Just maintain kind of where I'm at. And that's all I've got for that.
Okay. If anyone has any questions on that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close 7A and now move us to 5C, which is the Sheriff's Office Warrant Services Officer's question, which I know some people who had some questions about. Kevin has a presentation he wanted to run us through, and then he can answer questions and we can have that discussion. Take it away, Kevin.
All right. Dan can pull up my PowerPoint. I'll go through this. And by the way, I've always wanted to sound like James Earl Jones, but not at the cost of having the cold I've got. So you'll have to excuse my voice as we go through this. But we'll talk about just kind of a Customs and Immigration's agreements, 287Gs, 101, kind of the basics of it, and what is involved for the sheriff's office, and kind of an explanation as to what the requirements and things like that. So, all right, we're back in college. Immigration and Customs 101. ICE, ICE's authority to issue detainers, where does that come from? The short answer is Congress. The U.S. Congress is given Immigration and Customs, actually Homeland Security, the authority to issue detainers. The long explanation is there. Federally, where that authority comes from. What is an immigration detainer? Immigration detainer is a notice from the Department of Homeland Security issued to federal, state, and local enforcement agencies that inform them that ICE intends to assume custody of someone already in their custody. Immigration detainers serve in three functions. You can read them here. They basically notify law enforcement. They request information from law enforcement about when their person of interest is going to be released and what their local criminal charges are. And they ask local law enforcement agencies to maintain custody of the alien for up to 48 hours beyond what they would normally. So once their local criminal charges are satisfied, either by paying bond or getting a signature bond or something, it's always been a gray area across the country. Does the Dunn County Sheriff have the authority to hold somebody beyond local charges once their local charges have been satisfied? It's always kind of been a gray area. Never really been an issue under former federal administrations. But currently there are 5 sheriffs being sued across the state right now for that reason. Holding people beyond once their local charges are satisfied. That is a battle right now. Actually, Sam Hall, where my legal advice came from, is fighting that battle on behalf of the 5 sheriffs across the state. All right, that brings up the next question then. Is the detainer required to be served upon the subject? Yes, it is required for them, just like a warrant from a judge. It needs to be served on the subject that ICE wants to be held. It's got to be served to them. So legally for us to hold somebody, they have to be served a detainer. If ICE can't come here within the next 5 minutes and serve them the detainer, is the reason that you enter into a warrant service officer agreement so that you have local authorities that have the authority to serve that detainer on the detainee or the subject you have in custody. All right, so there's 3 different 287G agreement options, and I'll actually start on the bottom, which is the most intensive system. Task force module or model is one that I would send my staff probably 6 months of training somewhere else. So they really become federal agents and they work on the street with ICE enforcing immigration law. The next level is the jail enforcement or GEM model. Gives a little more authority for trained agencies, which requires about a 40-hour online course and 40 hours in person in North Carolina, I believe is where they hold that training. You have to send your staff there. That gives you a little more authority to enforce federal immigration laws, which I don't have the staff to do, and we don't have the manpower to do it. Even though they pay for the training, the travel and stuff like that is not included, and I'd be missing staff for a week at a time. So, let me back up. Dan can help me back up. Yeah, I turned too quickly. So the warrant services program, warrant service officer program, is just a collaborative effort between ICE. It authorizes trained individuals to serve the detainer on somebody that's already in our custody on local charges. It does not give them, and I'll get into all what it does not do, it does not give them any authority to enforce federal immigration laws outside of serving a detainer on somebody that's already in our custody. That training is an 8-hour online course at their leisure. So legal recommendations from Attorney Sam Hall. If honoring an ICE detainers, please strongly consider entering into a 287 agreement. The warrant service officer is better than no agreement, but the jail model seems to provide the most protection, but also requires the most significant commitment. They said, can't send staff for 80 hours of training, 40 online and 40 in North Carolina in person. So to cover us liability wise, the simplest thing I can do is have about 8 of my staff as my plan right now, trained and certified as warrant service officers, so they have the authority to serve that detainer on somebody that's in our custody.
Kevin?
Yeah.
Supervisor Morehouse has a question.
Thank you. Protection from what?
Civil liability, holding somebody without the authority that has been released on local charges or satisfied their local charges either by bond or in other ways, served their sentence if they were sentenced to jail. This gives us the authority to hold somebody up to 48 hours for ICE and gives my trained staff the authority to serve that detainer so they're legally served.
Ask a follow-up. You noted that 5 sheriffs were being sued.
Right.
Is it about this?
It is. And I haven't read the full lawsuit. The goofy part about those 5 being sued, some are actually ICE detention facilities. Brown County, for example, who I think is already in the jail module or model of holding ICE detainees. They're actually a detention facility, but Brown County, Marathon County, I believe Douglas, who is also an ICE detention facility, is in that. I can't remember the other 2. But ironically, Sheriff Eric Severson, who is more involved with ICE than any other sheriff in the state, was not named in the lawsuit. So the rhyme or reason why they picked those 5 sheriffs, I have no idea. The good news for all of you is we see on an average about 1 ICE detainer a year. Ironically, 2 last year. 1 was on a guy that was going to state prison for local criminal charges, and the ICE detainer simply followed him there. The other one, we notified ICE that we had somebody in custody on a detainer, and they said, "Yeah, it's all right, we don't want him." So they dropped the detainer. So we don't see this often, but when it comes to violent crime or, major drug trafficking and things like that, people that are victimizing our residents of Dunn County, I want the ability to remove them from our community. So get into a little bit about why, the pros and cons. But the legal recommendation did come from Sam Hall, who is the attorney representing the 5 sheriffs that are being sued. And he also represents this county as for Wisconsin County Mutual. Their firm represents Dunn County's liability insurance. Benefits of the Warrant Service Officer Program, arresting and serving, seamless the serving of the warrants. My staff can do it immediately, even before they've satisfied their local charges. If there's a detainer in the system, they can serve the detainer on them while they're in our jail. Effectively and safely engage. It limits the at-large arrests in the community and allows, so basically it allows us to serve that detainer while they're in our custody, and we don't have ICE agents running around our community and causing a stir. They're not searching for people at large. We already have them in custody. We keep them in custody and turn them over to them within 48 hours. And it decreases reentry into the community. It decreases the criminal aliens being released back into our community. So what the Warrant Service Officer Agreement does, it authorizes trained Dunn County staff to serve a federal detainer on individuals already in custody in the jail. It provides additional liability protection when holding someone on federal detainer for up to 48 hours. Helps ensure Dunn County is not at risk of losing federal funding due to lack of cooperation with ICE. Helps ensure that neither I or my staff face potential legal consequences for obstructing an ICE investigation. What the Warrant Service Officer Agreement does not do, it does not make the Sheriff's Office part of an ICE task force. It does not grant my staff the authority to independently enforce federal immigration laws outside the jail. It does not obligate the Sheriff's Office to participate in immigration enforcement activities with ICE in our community. So what if we chose not to honor ICE detainers? Well, we could be federally charged like Judge Hannah Dugan in Milwaukee, who's been convicted of a felony for concealing a person from arrest and obstructing and removal proceedings for the Department of Homeland Security. We could be put in the same position if ICE finds out we have a subject in our custody who has an ICE detainer and they say, hold him for us for 48 hours. And I say, no, kick them out as soon as their local charges are satisfied. I could be federally charged for obstructing an ICE investigation. We could lose any federal funding countywide, including grant eligibility if deemed a sanctuary county by the federal government. We would be releasing known criminals back into our community that could be a public safety risk. And we would have ICE agents in our community searching for the at-large aliens. This really comes down to public safety over politics. We all know 8, 9, 10 years ago when illegal aliens were being deported from the US, streets weren't being taken over, places weren't being bombed. President Obama deported 3 million more people than the current administration did when his first term in office. It's turned into a political game and become very political. I am choosing public safety over politics and what's right for me, my staff, and Dunn County. Now, I'll take any questions you may have. Hopefully I answered them all.
Supervisor Morehouse first.
Loudmouth first. Kevin, you know that I've expressed concerns to you about this.
Sure.
My specific question is, it's my understanding that there are 19 of 72 counties participating in cooperation, collaboration with ICE. Is that correct?
I don't know the number. There's more signing on every day. I just had a discussion with the sheriff the other day from another county.
Well, my question is, given your concerns about the loss of federal funding, number one, and sort of general liability concerns, why aren't all 70, if it's that serious, why aren't all 72 counties?
Because not all sheriffs want to stand up here in front of a county board and try and explain to them the benefits of it. They don't want the political heat. It's the reality.
I'm not sure that's a great answer, but I'll take it.
It is. That was the discussion I had with the sheriff from across the state the other day. He heard that I had signed the agreement and he said, what's the backlash, Ben? I said, oh, it keeps coming. But the reality is I got to do the right thing for the right reasons.
Okay, Supervisor Steen, then Supervisor Kinnear.
Well, thank you for coming forward and sharing that information. Political or not, that looked like a veiled threat to me. Cooperate or else. That's what it said on there. I don't appreciate that one bit. And I'll just say that I believe that you got 5 sheriffs that are in court. I would propose that we would wait to see how that come out, because if your sheriffs win the suit, we have no control anyway. And if you don't win the suit, then we have control. Am I understanding that correctly?
I think you're conflating two different lawsuits.
I'm a conflator. I know that.
There's the one that Kevin is referring to. There is a second lawsuit about who exactly would have control over contract authority for the county. So it is accepted practice in Wisconsin at the moment that Kevin would be entirely within his rights to sign this, and the contract would be through the sheriff's department. There is a lawsuit that is working its way through Wisconsin courts that one side is arguing that the practice as it has been is the legal practice. The other side is arguing that the sheriff should not be allowed to enter into contracts. Effectively none of the constitutional officers should be allowed to enter into contracts without the approval of the appropriate body. So that's the one that's up in the air that will have, who knows what the effect, but those are the two lawsuits. And we don't know how either of those are going to come out.
Right. And to answer your question, about 6 months ago, there was a release, Wisconsin, every county in the US, it was released to the public who were deemed sanctuary counties in Wisconsin. We weren't on the list, even though I didn't have an agreement in place yet, but Shawano County, who has always honored ICE detainers, was listed on the list. Milwaukee County, Danita Ball, the sheriff down there, said, we're not a sanctuary county, we honor ICE detainers. So that was kind of the shot over the bow of, if you don't cooperate, you could be deemed a sanctuary county and you lose your federal funding. So I'm not making any threats.
If I might respond, my job as an elected county official is to do what's right for the county of Dunn. To me, this seems like a murky area. There's a lawsuit going on. I don't think it would be prudent for us to do this until that's resolved, because then we would know whether county boards have the right to specify what you can enter into, or that's your purview. I don't think that's an unreasonable ask. I don't think I'm not promoting being a sanctuary county, but I am promoting that I do not like the language that they sent you, and I would be happy to share that on the floor of the Senate with anybody. That's a veiled threat. They are not running the county. We are, and anyway, that's my thoughts. And as an elected official, I want to do what's best for the county, and you do too. I know that. And you're following your best advice from your attorney and all that, and I respect that. But I'm saying, let's not have a knee-jerk reaction. Let's see how that lawsuit goes. And I'm happy to follow whatever way it goes, if that makes sense to you.
Okay, Supervisor Kinnear.
Okay, Sheriff Big, this is one of the few things I ever get any comments or questions on from my constituents.
I'll try and stir more pots for you.
Yeah, that and racing. But cost, we keep them 2 extra days. Who pays for that?
We would, honestly, it happens so seldom that I don't know if we can bill the federal government for that. I know if we hold state inmates, we can bill them at $60 a day. I guess I can't answer your question.
Yep, that's, now, based on what's been happening, do you see that it's possible that the number of 1 or 2 people a year could go way up?
Not necessarily. I mean, Dunn County is the least of ICE's concerns. They've got bigger fish to fry. ICE has come to Dunn County in the last year and a half, went to a farm because they were looking for somebody specific that they believed was working there that they had a detainer for. They went there. They requested one of my deputies go along just to stand by. The person that they were looking for was not there. They didn't even bother checking the immigration status of any other employee there. We all know there's 5, 6 major farms in this county that employ people, whether their citizenship is questionable. We're the least of ICE's concern. There's a pallet factory in Boyceville that I watch 30 Hispanic individuals walk to every day and walk home from work. They're not coming knocking their door down looking for these people. They're looking for specific people that have either had violent criminal histories or been deported in the past, and those are the ones that they're issuing detainers for.
Okay, and you don't, that was my next question. You mentioned these people have had criminal records or been deported in the past, as you just said. You don't see any of that changing. It seems like we hear reports all the time about people being deported that were even citizens or this or that. It goes so quickly. You don't see any of that changing?
No. No, I've talked to Derek Van Orden's office as well. Derek Van Orden, the President of the United States, recognize that non-citizen employees are crucial to society, keeping things afloat. And I honestly don't think that's who they're after, and I don't foresee it changing in the next 3 years.
Okay, and then one final question. This is more mine than the constituents. Are you afraid of guilt by association? And that's what you're kind of hearing maybe. You're associated with what we see on TV with the masked people and
Right.
no names. We have, as far as I know, your office gets along really well with people in Dunn County. It
Right.
does a good job. Are you a little afraid that this is going to affect that?
It already has, it already has, 4 or 5 years ago, the political atmosphere was anti-law enforcement. This is becoming another anti-law enforcement thing. The reality is we want to assist ICE in removing the people in our community so they're not out there on their own doing what happened in Minneapolis. And so I think it's best for cooperation. And so I don't have any authority to stop them from coming here, but I'd rather work with them and control that so we can maintain a relationship with the residents of Dunn County and not let it get out of hand.
Thank you for answering my questions. We kind of have to trust in who's running things. I mean, not locally, but
Sure.
nationally to see what's going to happen. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Supervisor Quinn.
Yeah, thank you. A couple questions you maybe answered and I missed, but so in a typical situation where you have an inmate who is in this category and say they're in on a 60-day sentence, did you ever get a detainer from ICE while they're in your custody? And if you do you act on it then, or do you have to wait until their sentence is served?
Well, they wouldn't be released from our custody until their sentence is served. Okay. So we wouldn't turn them over until their local charges were satisfied, whether that be being released on a bond or serving their sentence.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And then I'm a little confused about the lawsuit. And so you outlined 3 levels of cooperation with ICE, right? And you're suggesting that the sort of the most basic of those, which would just deal with incarcerated, convicted individuals, and only during that 2-day period when they are their sentence has been served, that would be the only formal cooperation that you would engage in with ICE?
Correct.
Okay.
Unless they request for us to stand by to keep the peace.
Okay.
But we don't have we don't have any authority to enforce federal law.
Right.
So we can't inquire of immigration status because we can't do anything about it. So.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Morehouse, then Supervisor Steen.
And this question may betray some ignorance on my part, but one of the concerns about the actions of CPB and ICE in the last year is that they fail to follow any kind of due process. So the question is about the issuance of these detainers. Is there a legal basis for their issuance? I guess I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I kind of covered that in one of the first few slides of what gives the ICE the authority to issue a detainer. It comes down to Congress has given them that authority.
And so has the individual for whom the detainer is being issued had benefit of any kind of due process before that happens?
I have no idea what the process is for the federal government. My understanding is they would be going to a detention facility and then offered due process. There's all kinds of stories out in the media about different things, and frankly, I don't watch it because I don't believe half of it. But they have an opportunity to plead their case just like anybody else that's charged with a local criminal charge.
I believe that if the proper due process has been followed by ICE, a detainer can only be issued with a proper judicial warrant. Now, one of the issues that's been happening, for example, in Twin Cities, is there is some evidence that those judicial warrants are not being properly done.
Administrative, not.
Right, administrative rather than judicial. But in theory, it is my understanding that a detainer should have gone through the process that produces a judicial warrant. Supervisor Steen.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin, for doing what you think is right for your job. I appreciate that. And I don't mean to crucify the bringer of the news.
Sure.
You know, and we'll just have to get this sorted out. But, and you're between a rock and a hard place here, kind of.
Correct.
Well, for that, I'm sorry.
No, it's what I signed up for, I guess. Yeah.
I will note something that you might want to take a look at. Last spring, when some of this conversation was first happening, National Association of Counties was a little bit concerned about the entire 48-hour detainer issue, because there is some question of whether those 48-hour detainers are following due process in a way that would expose the county to legal liability if we hold someone for those 48 hours and they sue saying that judicial authority doesn't exist. So
that's the whole purpose of having somebody with the legal authority to serve the detainer.
Right.
The whole due process isn't on us. It's simply the authority to hold them for that 48 hours.
Yes, NACO was just very concerned that any municipal or county organization that was operating on those 48-hour detainers was taking on some liability in the other direction.
Yeah, I mean, that's some people's argument is that we've got no authority to hold somebody if they haven't been served the detainer. And it's been a gray area for years. And
yeah, I understand. You have the feds suing one way, and ACLU and other organizations that are civil liberties organizations suing the other way, and you're, as Supervisor Steen noted, between a rock and a hard place.
Right.
Just putting it into the conversation because I felt that it needed to be put in. Supervisor Vogel.
Thank you. Sure, I appreciate all the answers you've sent. Asked a lot of questions, but I still have some. So I was curious, did corporate counsel review the agreement?
He's seen it. He didn't approve me signing it.
Okay, so was there anything in it that could potentially like open the county to any, because it looks like some of the agreements, I don't know, there's about federal investigations, and that they can access appropriate databases and people. So that's a little worrisome because I don't know if they already have access to our databases.
No, they don't.
Okay, so is that potential risk if they're doing an investigation?
They've got public access to our, just like you do, to our current inmate roster, but that's all they would have access to.
Could they potentially access it
We
with
can't
this
even
agreement?
share data with Eau Claire County. So,
Okay.
I mean, it would have to be quite a development of a computer system that would all interface with everybody's records management system. So
Ann, just for a second. Jim, did you want to leap in on that? Because part of that question was for you, clearly.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I have since reviewed the agreement, and certainly I'd say that it's gonna depend on how those two cases go as to whether, oh, we're in trouble or the other way. So there is a termination provision, and should that be the way the Wisconsin Supreme Court goes. And yeah, I didn't see anything about data sharing that concerned me because of how much is already publicly available out there.
Okay, and one other question. So going back to Diane's initial question, so if we didn't sign an agreement, what is this civil liability, or what are we opening ourselves to?
Holding somebody in our custody without authority. So equivalent to kidnapping, if you're holding somebody that you don't have the authority to hold, you're violating somebody's rights.
Okay, so the previous process was gray, iffy.
Right.
And interesting. So, and follow up on Supervisor Quinn's question. If these are judicial warrants, why do they have to finish serving their sentence and then we extend it?
Well, they've got to satisfy their local charges first. We just don't release somebody because we have no idea they'll ever be back if they're released from federal custody. But so they've got to serve their local charges or satisfy their local charges first. So either by posting bond, serving their sentence, or however, they're released from custody.
So
Thank you.
sort of the order of serving of sentences, there are situations where, for example, federal authorities could go through a legal process to remove someone so that they were serving a sentence in a federal facility before they served their Dunn County sentence. But that's a pretty involved legal process. And so that would be one of the reasons why, in general, particularly with a shorter sentence, the normal procedure would be like 60 days. We'll wait 60 days,
Right.
just in terms of how the chain of custody and who gets arrested and where they go at any given time. Supervisor Steen.
I'm back.
I'm still here.
Yeah. I was just conversing with Chairman McCullough there, and do we have any, we don't have to approve this, do we?
Nope. No, we don't. This is.
So
Nope.
actually, you're coming here as a matter of courtesy?
Correct.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, then, much to do about nothing. Thank you.
Supervisor Kinnear.
Okay, just one final question. I'm not as optimistic of what's going to happen in the future, but I'm curious about the length of the agreement. Is it ongoing? Is it for a
Yeah,
year?
until I terminate it or ICE terminates it.
So either one of you can.
Yes.
Okay. Thank
Yeah, there's a 90-day provision for term.
So, yeah, thanks for being here,
You got
Kevin.
Anybody else? All right, last time though, man, you've had like 8 bites of the apple.
Well, it's a big apple. I will say that you coming here as a matter of courtesy is a good move to diffuse misunderstanding and whatever. I don't like it, but that's beside the point.
Sure.
So I applaud your efforts on trying to make it as transparent as possible. And I got a lot of faith in the Dunn County Sheriff's Department, and you too, by the way, even though you're from Boyceville. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Anything else?
Doesn't look like it. Thank you, Kevin.
This will look familiar next Wednesday night when I give my annual report, because I figure I might as well just let the whole board see it. So you'll see a very similar presentation.
We appreciate the appearance, and I imagine you will have variations on many of these questions on Wednesday.
Yep, sounds good.
The only difference is, Kevin, I can't ask any questions. I'm running the meeting, so he's leaving town.
All righty. that would close 5C, which brings us back in order, unless I've missed something, and if anyone notices, please tell me, to item 8, reports from the standing committees. Oh, let's start over here. Supervisor Vogel.
Thank you. The Facilities Committee met on February 25th at 5 p.m. We had great reports from Austin Witt about the fair, facilities and parks. He has a new finance person that started, so that's helpful. We talked about the RFP for the geothermal HVAC in the Judicial Center. They were due March 3rd, so we're waiting to hear a little bit more about those. They are working on boat landing spray stations so that the boats can get rid of all the nasty stuff on them as they leave, trying to figure out good solutions. We talked about the fleet, and there's 5 trucks that they're thinking of releasing or like getting new leases for before the new year so that the plows will still fit. But Supervisor Prochnow brought up a good question, like why don't we buy the trucks instead of leasing them? So Austin was going to look into that. Then we had a few interesting discussions. So the land across from the old transfer station, someone wanted to purchase that, but we were leasing it to the farmer that lives nearby, but we didn't actually have we couldn't find an official contract, or we had drafts. But then the person who wanted to purchase also wanted to lease the land if we weren't going to sell it. So, so kind of went back to, well, I guess if we have 2 people who want to lease it, we should ask, like, put it out there, like, how much are they going to pay us? So, so that was, we pushed that back to the county administrator. Then Dan had a great land use plan, which you all saw, and then Tom came and explained the whole survey maps for subdividing, so that in future, if we wanted to sell for development purposes, we had it all set and in line. And then you also saw the TDS wanted a right of way on the north side of the bike path near Monoman Park so that they could bury lines. So it was a busy meeting, and our next meeting is March 25th at 5 p.m.
Thank you, Supervisor Vogel. Supervisor Hedlund.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Committee on Administration met last here in this building on February 26th. Roll call was, everyone was here in person. Again, we received reports from the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 departments that now report to Committee on Administration, up from 5, up from 7, and now 9. Which is fine. They do a great job. Thank you to them for all the written reports and everything that they do. We took a look at the fee schedule that you've already seen, Rachel, and decided we should push it on for approval. Along with that, of course, the resolution I'm going to carry forwards, transfer all that money and from last year and into this year. Carry forward for Land Information Division to approve the and also resolution then to approve carry forward for the self-insured health insurance fund. That's, obviously it's that complicated thing of bills and when they're paid and their last year's bills, and so we need to carry that money forward as part of that, obviously, process. A resolution establishing compensation for the county elected officials. And that is something that, since I've been on the committee, and I guess prior to that, way back, has been something that always comes forward to the committee administration. when the clerk and register of deeds, treasurer, and is there a fourth? Yeah, there is. Isn't there? No?
We don't set Andrew's wage.
No, that's right. Anyway, we set that in the same process based on the election timing. And so the information that was brought forward by Kevin was that we truly did. Those elected officials all are receiving 4.75% going forward until their terms run out. So that was his comparison, and that's why that came up. So that's already been done. During the meeting, a motion was made by one of the supervisors on the committee that due to future constraints and budget balancing, that we consider a 3% for the next 4 years for those two positions. That was debated. It was made a motion. It was seconded. It was debated, and it was passed. And so the committee have a passed recommendation and a resolution that will be brought before the board at our next meeting. And that will include a 3% only increase, or comparatively increase compared to the 4.75% that the other elected officials will be receiving 1 year behind each other. So that's where that came about. And that's what I guess I will say. The information was brought to us from Kevin and the clerk and brought in ahead of time. And when it went through committee, that was the committee's decision. So you can, at the board meeting, someone could present a resolution or a amendment to a resolution that would change that. And that could be changed.
And I'm just going to insert that if someone wants to do that, they would probably be best served by running it by Jim and making sure that we have a solid version and
then in writing.
and in writing for, I mean, the in writing part is part of the rules, but absolutely anyone who wants to do that should have a word with Jim on the language.
Yeah, and then just the understanding that, why it came forward from the people concerned, and what it means. It's during that term that they serve. And as Kevin and Kirk brought out, that's set. Now we could change that. Somebody felt the need, it would take a new resolution. And I'm not sure how that would, I don't think that would allow us to
No, it's state law.
do it during those 4 years. I don't know if what you could do.
Nope.
You know, I
No,
don't
state
think you
law.
could really do anything. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of set in stone.
Yep.
So to speak. Is that a good term? Yeah. So, I mean, the only thing and even if you were to elect somebody new, if the sheriff left after 2 years and resigned and you elect a new sheriff, those ground rules, that's something that came up. That's what they will be paid on, brand new sheriff never served before, or an experienced sheriff or something like that. So, that was part of the debate. It really isn't part of in my mind, part of the debate. This is what we're going to pay whoever serves as our sheriff. And this is where we're going to play whoever we, as a clerk of our court. And as in previous years, that's what we're going to pay the clerk, the treasurer, register of deeds. And so whomever might be in that position at the end of those or during that term. That's what I got. Beyond that, again, we passed on our part of the legislative agenda to be, which was approved today. So that is all I have. Our next meeting will be next month. I believe 27th? No, 6th? March, yeah. Same date as, because February has the same number of days, it's the same date, 26th, right? It's not an odd number. It's the only time that happens, February into March.
All right.
I learned that in the second grade. No.
Thank you, Supervisor Headland. Supervisor Bauer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We met, the CR&T met on February 17th at 4:30. Kristen Bruder, the UW Extension Director, gave reports. He said, the Tri-County Connection newsletter is set to roll out next month, which is this month now, which I think you guys probably already seen it in emails. It came out on the 3rd. There's some good information in there. It'll be good for you guys to see what Extension really does. Also working on videos and information that's put in our packets. They were at the farm show. If you guys made farm show, UW Extension was there. Had a nice little booth that they always do. So, community development. Garrett shared his role as a community development educator. He is currently working the child care action team, EMS, and county operation planning and service analysis. So he's got quite a bit going on there too. Economic development, Adam McCullough shared updates regarding housing, business retention, expansion, and small business and entrepreneurships. Got good reports. So, and the assistant manager Jenna had shared on the news releases, election information, and you guys probably seen on your news release that the community ridership was up 29% last year. So congratulations on that. So our next meeting is March 17th at 4:30.
Thank you, Supervisor Bauer. Supervisor Morehouse.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Health and Human Services Board last met on February 26th, right after admin. We had a really lengthy discussion at my request about the operational planning process, which has some sort of different implications and meaning for both public health and human services. It's not so easy to describe better services in human services. Anyway, we had a lengthy discussion about that because I wanted the board members to be aware of what the rationale for this was, what the context is, and what role that they're going to have to play. We had our staff is just so great. We had really excellent written and oral reports. The veteran service officer included copies of some statutes that are pending both in the state and federally, which is, again, it's sort of helpful to know what's going on in the larger context. Paula at DHS reported a variety of things, including the fact that she's made some shift in her responsibilities with now 4 finance staff directly assigned to DHS, which has in many ways affected her role. She's sort of more of a finance overseer than a human service director at this point. So I think we're hopeful that that role is temporary for Paula. Public health, again, great report. And we had reports from 3 external evaluations and review processes for Title X, which is our reproductive health grant, the transient non-community well program, and our Vaccines for Children program, all received excellent reviews and comments from the reviewers. And thanks to KT and her managers for doing such a great job. Action items, we reviewed the vouchers. We did 2 public health carry forwards, a VSO carry forward, which was already seen today, and DHS budget adjustment. And as a final comment, just about everybody, we were anticipating a big hole in the DHS budget end of year, and we don't have it. And it looks like hard to know at this point still, but it looks like there might be some some transfer back to the general fund. So again, really good management on the part of, no? Did it change again? Well, that's right. That's right. I forget that now. It doesn't transfer to the general fund. It goes into a special fund, an endowment for DHS. So yeah, so we don't have $1.7 million holes and things like that.
Part of the smoothing process.
Our next meeting is the 26th of this month.
Thank you, Supervisor Morehouse. Supervisor Wilsey.
Thank you. We last met Monday, February 23rd. Update from the sheriff. The jail system is upgraded with a new tablet, so the inmates can communicate with the jail and nursing staffs via the tablet. Inmates also have the ability to conduct legal research from the tablets. There's no cost to the inmates to use the law library. Other thing we talked about, clerk of courts, was the compensation for juries. If you do get time, Katie did a really good spreadsheet of the different costs and how many juries there are, and we had a good discussion. And I had other people talk to me about, they didn't think we should raise it, but I said, a lot of people in here are abnormal. We actually like public service. Most people don't. So I thought it was a good idea to raise it and try to get people to want to serve on jury duty. And the other thing we did was and Dan talked about it a little bit, but a budget amendment for key fobs, which Katie runs a really good budget. So she came in under, so we thought that was appropriate. So our next meeting will be in May on the 18th.
Thank you, Supervisor Wilsey. Supervisor Prochnow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Highway met this morning. Basically, we've been hauling, since I haven't done as much plowing, we hauled all the chips for the seal coating for the summer. We got that all done. Seasonal weight restrictions went in last Thursday. Looking at the frost right now, nothing's changed since they basically started, so it's kind of where it's at. Shop is continuing working on 2 triaxles fabrication, putting all the stuff on that for plowing. Engineering projects, the County Road P Irvington Bridge replacement project is supposed to start mid-July. It'll be about 40 days down there, so just so you know, they'll be closed. The County Q Wilson Creek Bridge, that's a 50-day project, and that's going to start sometime in mid-May. So just so you know, those 2 bridges will be out. Big thing we discussed today, well, the other bad news was the grader had a transmission issue last year. It's going to cost like $50,000 to replace the transmission, which is one of our main graders that we use. It's older, but so we had to decide what we want to do on that. Big discussion today was on CIP and if we want to build a new building for storage and everything else. A lot of discussion on that. We kind of sent it back to maybe look at just a little bigger building than that we were proposed for future. The one that we were proposed was basically middle of the road, basically just covers what we need right now. We would like to see that probably a little bit bigger so we don't have the same problem in 5 years that we don't have any place to store half our stuff. So that was a big discussion. I think prices are gonna be around 10 million, I would imagine, for the project that we are proposing. But you'll see more of that next meeting and at May CIP meeting. Otherwise, as far as road maintenance, winter maintenance, we spent about 531,000 so far of the 1.2. Which is pretty good. They have been doing a lot of brushing on all the roads this year. Actually, our brushing or our vegetation maintenance control, we've used over half of that already this year just because that's what we've been doing. Next meeting is April 8th, and that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Supervisor Prochnow. Supervisor Kinnear.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The neighbors of Dunn County met February 26th. And we're pretty full. We can take maybe 124. We've been right around 120, 121, which is just fantastic. And there's been a lot of illness running through, some flu, but because they're full, it doesn't matter as much because sometimes you can't even admit someone if someone's got certain sicknesses. Let's see, it looks like about 1.38 million, and this one does come back to the county, right? For now. No, I thought we had to give back this year's and then we got to,
Oh, yeah, you have to give back what you borrowed from last year, yes.
right,
But
okay.
it's not all of it.
No, okay.
Yeah.
I was talking to another supervisor the other day and it seems like when I run the meeting, there's just nothing for us to do. It's just, it's all the rules and Carmen has it set, but I got to thinking, it wasn't always this way with the Neighbors of Dunn County. When I first got here, in fact, the county board chair was the chair of the Neighbors of Dunn County because things were difficult. They were difficult with staff, things were really going on. And thanks to one thing, Chris Corpola and Jenna and company, brainstorming and helping get things on the right road. I think our committee set some guidelines too also that helped. And then we took a chance and hired a 23-year-old. And I'll tell you, it's amazing when I think about it now, the difference between when I started 10 years ago and now. The job, how it's changed, it's been a group effort, but I've always said it's top down. And in this case, it's amazing. She's made my job. It's like, do I need to be there today, Carmen? And yeah. But so I want you to understand, it hasn't always been this good. And there's a lot of people that have helped do it. So keep it so that I don't have much work like that. That's very nice. But our next meeting is March 26th. And thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Kinnear. Supervisor Quinn.
Thank you. Short, the Planning Resources Development Committee met on February 18th and March 4th. We had the monthly reports from the 4 departments: Register of Deeds, Survey, Planning and Zoning, and Land Conservation. We dealt with one rezone request, an 8-acre parcel in the town of Peru that we recommended rezone from general ag to light industrial for a small sawmill operation. And it was approved with some conditions, and I think that's on the county agenda this month. We reviewed proposed updates to the Dunn County Land Division Ordinance, which is sort of the purview of the survey department. And again, so land zoning ordinances deal with how we use land, the use of land. Land division ordinances deal with how we divide land, how we divide it up. And those are the way those 2 departments kind of break down their tasks. Our land division ordinance locally was last amended in July of 2023, but the legislature passed Act 68 last fall, that modified provisions of the ordinances governing the approval of subdivision plots and requires that counties comply with those adjustments by July 2026. So staff reviewed our ordinances, which are long, and recommended some updates while we're at it, and also some changes to comply with the new state law. And we reviewed those and made some suggestions, and they'll come back for a final review probably sometime next month. And that's about it. Our next meeting is next Wednesday. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Quinn. And thank you, everybody. It has been a long and somewhat unorthodoxly organized meeting. Thank you for rolling with the agenda changes. And Supervisor Morehouse.
If I am not mistaken, this is the last executive committee meeting for Chair Supervisor Quinn, Supervisor Vogel, and
one more.
Vaughn Headland.
April 14th. We have one between the election and the organization. So you're all stuck for one more meeting.
per diem?
So so it's before the organizational committee, so they still
Yep.
can serve. Well, I'll thank you. I'll thank you next time then.
I almost made the same mistake, so
Okay.
that's why I was on top of that. But like I said, thank you for bearing with us for a long meeting. Thank you for the clerk of court and the sheriff for their contributions to, again, a long meeting. This one had a lot to chew on. And with that, we are adjourned. Oh, April 14th. Tuesday, April 14th. Yep.